Hello, Attorney Prashanti.
Hello.
I'm in India. My H1B was approved in 2021, November of 2021, and will expire September 2024. My current company is not able to arrange the client letters. So, if I want to transfer my visa to another employer, I heard that the H1B visa cannot be transferred to another employer until I work for the initial petitioning employer for 6 months. Can you please clarify?
Um, yes, I can. And in this situation, it looks like the person filed a CAP petition as the person is outside the country. And it looks like that the employer might have gotten the H1B approved, but has to now send the beneficiary to the consulate. And they might be concerned that the consulate will not approve the case without client letters. So they're not sending him to the consulate, and therefore, the H1B approval that he has cannot be used. In this situation, he wants to, maybe he has another employer and he wants to change his employment and get another H1B approval. So now the question is whether his H1 is cap exempt or if it's not cap exempt because he didn't start working for the employers yet. Now, interpretations of what is cap exempt and what is not keep changing, and it depends also on how liberal USCIS is at that particular point of time. At one point, they did say that unless the H1B is activated, unless the H1B, they start working on the H1, they're again subject to the cap because, they're not cap exempt as the H1 was not activated. But now, for a while now, they seem to be taking the position that in this situation that, the H1B is still, the employee is still cap exempt. So they can presumably file another H1, a new H1 cap exempt petition by putting in the H1 approval, the previous H1B approval. And it's not called a transfer. You'll be getting, what will happen is you'll get a H1B consular processing approval without an I-94 since you're not in the country. And then you have to take that fresh new H1B approval and go to the consulate and apply for a visa.
So, I have a follow-up question here. Assuming that the USCIS still accepts the way it is, they have somebody has an H1 and never worked for their employer or not traveled to the US. Now, what is the timeline that they can file a new H1B with another employer as cap exempt? Is
Within,
there two?
within the next 6 years. So the approval should have been within 6 years.
So, what happens if it's beyond 6 years? Let's say 10
Then
years.
not cap exempt again, they'll be subject to the cap.
So, have you seen any cases where the immigration is liberal with these type of
Yeah,
situations?
done quite a few cases in the recent past.
So it's a case by case. There's nothing like a hard boiled rule.
As of now, they seem to be accepting this until they make some changes to it. We have to presume that it's going to be this way.
Wow. If so what happens if someone has paid a hefty $8,000 to $10,000 fee? They take the application, give out the receipt notice, and they reject it. So they lose the filing fee.
Absolutely, and that's the problem. USCIS is so unpredictable in
Wow.
in its processing, and also they don't have uniform, processing methods. So you don't know. In general, you do know, but there is always a gray area, and this is one of those gray areas where they haven't really said what the situation will be. So we are doing it based on a case by case basis. But in general, we filed several and they've all been approved. So we have to presume. In the past, a few years ago, when we filed the same thing, it was not approved. They said it was not cap exempt many years ago, maybe about 5, 7 years ago. Now we are not having that problem, so we have to, we're only presuming that USCIS has changed its mind, and nothing is in writing to this point. It's the way they're interpreting what is already in writing.
All right. Well, again, this is, seems like this is a case by case situation. If you are watching this video for any cap exempt, you're stuck in home country, never travel to the US or never work for that employer. If you're finding another employer, you might redirect your employer. If you find a new employer, to Attorney Prashanti Reddy, 212-354-1010, or you can ask your employer, or you can visit yourself on their website at Ready, REDDYESQ. That's Edward Sam Queen, ReadyESQ.com. Thank you, Prashanti, for answering that question.
You're welcome.